What's up, family? Man, I want to have a real heart-to-heart with you guys today. Man, I'm losing my voice. My allergies got messed up in Columbus, Georgia, and man, it's it's taking its toll on me. So bear with the voice and the screechiness and all that other stuff. I apologize. I'm drinking some tea with some honey in it, some lemons, so I'm trying to get it back right. You know what I mean, as fast as possible. That being said, man, family, we have to grow up. You know what I mean? We have to grow up, man. And it's a beautiful thing. I was sitting there and I'm like brain fart. I was thinking about what am I supposed to talk about, and I didn't know what I was supposed to talk about. And I was just looking at the tree behind me. And my youngest son painted this, and I walked into his room this past week and I saw this, and he had a bunch of other paintings. And I'm standing there and I'm just like in just awe, because I wish I could paint. I wish I had that artistic ability, you know what I mean? And so I'm sitting there and I'm looking at his artwork and just some of the abstract things he's done and just the colors and just everything, right? And I'm just taking it all in and just like as though I'm at a gallery. And I grabbed this one and another one of a butterfly that he did. And I wanted to bring some more back. I just didn't have the room with me. But I was sitting there and I was thinking about this tree. And it's so often, it's tripping me out because it's standing alone with the moon behind it. Stay with me, we're going somewhere. And as I was standing there and I'm getting the camera set up and it's like, God, I don't even know what I'm supposed to be talking about. God, what the heck are we supposed to be talking about? And this tree just popped out to me and it's just alone, but it's never alone. Stay with me, we're going to go somewhere today. And as I was sitting there and I'm like, I was standing here, I was like, okay, God, what is it? What is it? It's Elijah talked to the people about being alone and being lonely. Because there's a huge difference. See, you could be alone and not be lonely. You could be in a crowd of people and still feel lonely. See, there's a huge difference. And the difference is a state of mind. It's not about how many people are around you. It's your state of mind. See, I was in Columbus, down in Atlanta. And okay, God, what am I supposed to do? Who am I supposed to meet? Who am I supposed to talk to? And I'm surrounded by all these people at the airport. But I know that there's somebody in particular that I'm supposed to have a rendezvous with. Somebody in particular I'm supposed to meet. Somebody in particular I'm supposed to speak life into, or I'm supposed to pray over them. Something's supposed to happen. And I'm not knowing what. And so I'm standing there and I'm like, oh my gosh, what is it? All these people, but the one hasn't popped out yet. The one hasn't made themselves known yet. So I'm surrounded by all these people, but I'm alone. Stay with me. I meet the young lady I'm supposed to meet. And there's nothing sexual or anything of that ignorant ass nature. It's just two people are supposed to meet and chop it up. And when we met, it's as though the whole room was full of people. Stay with me. It didn't even matter of how many other people was there, because a connection had been made. And we're laughing and chopping it up and getting deep and just, man, there were angels encamped round about us. Stay with me, I'm going somewhere. And the room was just full. But I didn't pay attention to the people. I didn't remember the people. I don't remember who was around us, because that was not important to me at that time. They were there, but they wasn't there. Before I made the connection with the young lady, they were all there. They mattered because I'm feeling who is it that I'm supposed to meet. So I'm paying attention to all the people because I'm looking for somebody in particular. I don't know what they look like. I don't know who they are, male or female, young or old. I don't know. So I'm scanning the room and I'm paying attention to everybody. And then when she made herself known, none of the people mattered anymore. Because I understood why I was here. The connection had been made. What's this got to do with being alone and lonely? So often when we're alone, so often when we feel lonely, there's no connection. We don't have a connection taking place. And I know that goes against what we think, because we're so deep and so woke, and we're so connected to source and God and all this other stuff. And if you were as connected as you think you are, you wouldn't feel lonely. If you had the connection to source that you thought you had, you wouldn't feel lonely. You only have that lonely atmosphere, that lonely perspective, because that source's way, God's way, the Most High's way of trying to show you that you're not as connected to me as you think you are. You're really on some low vibrating frequency right now. If the truth be told, that's why you feel lonely, because there's no connection. You don't have a connection with anybody around you. You don't have a connection to the Most High. You're not connected to nature. I remember when I was in North Carolina and I would be out in the woods, and man, the birds would just be going, and the deer and the turtles, and just seeing all the animals. Man, I felt so at home. I felt so connected to the trees and the plants and just everything. But I was alone. But I didn't feel lonely. I was alone. But the birds were talking to me. I was alone. But the branches and the leaves were blowing in the wind, and they were communicating with me. I didn't feel alone. And so often in life, man, we go through this journey and, man, this process in the journey where we're alone. And what the source has got me telling you is that, man, that's part of the process. That's part of your spiritual growth and development journey. You got to go through that phase, that season of being alone. Why? Because it's at that time that you really need to tap into you. It's at that time you really need to look at you. How is your connection to God? Are you really tapped into that voice of that little kid inside of you? See, because if you're tapped into that little kid inside of you, then you're never alone. You would never feel lonely. You feel that way because you're not paying attention. You feel lonely because you're not tapped in, because you're not plugged in, because you're not paying attention to that little kid inside of you. You've become accustomed to ignoring them and dismissing them and invalidating them and tuning them out. And so you're tripping because, man, I feel so lonely and because that's the little kid inside of you that's making you feel that way, because that's how you're making them feel. See, that little kid inside of you, they got this big avatar, your body, carrying them around. Everywhere you go, your physical being goes, that little kid inside of you goes. Everywhere. But you're so distracted with everything else. You're so focused and fixated on everything else, you're not even paying attention to the little kid inside of you. You're so fixated on money and relationships and all this other stuff that you're completely ignoring the little kid inside of you. And the little kid inside of you is crying out, screaming out, man, I feel so lonely. I feel so lonely. Nobody hears me. Nobody makes time for me. Nobody talks to me. Nobody loves on me. I really don't matter. I could die today and nobody would even miss me. Nobody would even know that I was gone. Because we've ignored that little kid inside of us for so long. And so when you're feeling lonely, it's time to take a time out. It's time to take a pause in life. It's time to get reconnected. It's time to come back home. It's time to bring in all your thoughts and all your energy back home to you. Because you're so dispersed, you're so spread out, you're so all over the place. Focused on everything else but what you're supposed to be focused on. You're paying attention to all the wrong things. Stop tearing yourself down because you feel alone. Stop tearing yourself down because you feel lonely. Understand why you feel lonely. Understand that that is Source's way of trying to get your attention. He's trying to get your attention because you keep making that little kid inside of you feel the way that you feel. We have to understand why we feel the way we do. We know we feel certain things, but we really don't understand the why. And that's what has us messed up. We think we're alone. We think we're lonely because nobody's fucking with us. We think we're lonely because there's nobody around us. That's not true. That's not true at all. You're lonely because your state of mind is at a low place. You're lonely because you're not connected. You're not connected to Source. I was walking the other day and I had this just sheer bliss, just walking and just looking at the cherry blossoms and just enjoying the scenery, right? And I'm at the park and I'm just taking it all in and I'm just so happy and just like, man, I'm so freaking excited. I'm walking on cloud 9 and I can't be touched right now. I don't know what's going on in the world, man. I don't know what's going on in my life, but man, right now, I'm on one. I'm on a good one. I'm walking in the park all by myself. But it's as though I'm in a crowd. I'm in a crowd of my ancestors and family members and dear friends that have passed on that are no longer, but it's as though they're walking and talking with me. And so whatever I'm seeing and taking in, it's as though they're seeing it and taking it in too. It's as though whatever I'm observing and man, look at the birds, and man, look at those squirrels, and look at the geese, and look at all these different things, and it's as though the ancestors and the people with me are taking it in for the first time. And we're just walking through the park, as though we're seeing it for the very first time, as though we're experiencing it for the very first time. The air just feels different. It smells different. The colors, they seem more vibrant, more alive. It's all in our state of mind. It's all about your perspective. I remember when I was in China, the most populated country in the world. And in the beginning, I felt so alone. I felt so alone. And see, the backdrop behind it, my brother had passed away from colon cancer. My wife had passed away from breast cancer. And so I'm in this country and I can't really talk to the people because I don't know the language. And they can't really talk to me because they don't know my language. And so we have this barrier that's keeping us from communicating. And I had to learn to go within. I had to learn to be comfortable in my own skin. I had to learn to talk to and recognize and acknowledge that little kid inside of me. I had to learn how to come back home, how to be connected to God, to Source, the Most High. And the trip is, after I made that connection, I never felt alone again in China. I never felt alone again in China. I'm still there, the same cities. Still didn't know the language. Still didn't know how to communicate with the people. The people didn't know how to communicate with me. But I was able to go amongst the people and not feel alone. Not feel like I was all by myself. See, what happens is when you start to feel like that, man, then it opens up the door, Pandora's box, for all these other negative, low vibrating frequencies. See, when you start to feel alone, man, then that just opens up the box of just chaos. You know what I mean? Because now you start to feel nobody loves you. Nobody likes you. Nobody values you. Nobody wants to love you. Now I'm unlovable. What's wrong with me? And we just go down this abyss of just toxic, negative thought processes about ourselves because we're alone. But when you change your perspective and you understand that, yeah, although I may be physically alone, I am definitely not lonely. I am definitely not alone. I'm alone in the physical realm. My body's alone in this physical realm. But in the spiritual realm, which my body is also in, I know that I'm not alone. And that comforts me. That gives me the peace that, man, I'm good. I'm protected. I'm powerful. I don't have to worry about being attacked. I don't have to worry about people doing crazy stuff because I'm not alone. That's a state of mind. And if you're not careful, and if you don't change your perspective, that state of mind is going to take you down the rabbit hole into a dark place, into a more depressing and more toxic place. You are not alone. I don't care what it feels like. I don't care what it looks like. You're not alone. You are loved. You are valued. You are cherished. You just haven't met that person that wants to love you, that wants to cherish you, that wants to value you. You haven't had your connection yet. Just like when I was in Atlanta at the airport. Man, I'm looking at all these people and there's no connection. But as soon as the right one showed up, the connection was made. And none of the other people mattered anymore. Because I wasn't there for them. There's nothing wrong with being alone. I get it. We want people around us. But why is it that you always want somebody around you? Why is it that you always have to have people around you, or you have to have noise on to distract your thoughts? Why is it that, the truth be told, you're terrified of being alone? And you're terrified because it makes you feel unloved, unworthy of a relationship. Like you have no value. And those are the side effects that we can get when we're alone. And we have that toxic mentality of feeling lonely. There's a lot of times I get alone and I love it. You know what I mean? It's peaceful. I don't have to deal with anybody's drama, their negativity, their issues. I could just relax. I could chill out. I could study and learn and grow and do what I want to do. I'm not so fixated on trying to help somebody else or be there for somebody else. I love being alone. I do. But there's times where I know I need to be around other people. There's times when I know that I need to conversate with other people. I need to share some things with other people. Get some stuff off of my chest. To release, to let go. And that's okay too. Wherever state you find yourself, whether you're surrounded by people or whether you're alone, learn to be content. Learn to be at peace wherever you're at. Regardless of your circumstances, learn to be at peace. That's the purpose of why we go through these different stages. Because you have to learn to be at peace in every situation. See, the trip is we learn meditation in a private room, in a quiet place. But the purpose of meditation is not just to be done in some private room. It's so that, as I learn how to be a walking meditation, no matter where I'm at, no matter what's going on around me. Learning how to calm my mind. Learning how to ground myself. How to come back home to center. Learning how to push out all of the distractions, all of the noise, and find my equilibrium again. It's easy to do that when you're in a room by yourself. But can you do that in a crowd of millions of people? Can you do that around people they're just riled up and up on one? Can you learn to calm your mind? Can you learn while you're stuck in traffic? And all the car horns and everybody's pissed and angry because we've been in for hours and ain't nobody going nowhere, or you're stranded on the bus or you're stranded on the train. Can you calm your mind even in that situation? Can you calm your mind? That's the process. That's the purpose of the process. I'm alone in a world of 8 billion people. I'm physically alone. I'm never spiritually alone. Never. And when I don't want to be physically alone, I don't have to be. I could go out into the crowds if I want to. I could call somebody up and just go hang out. But that's not going to stop you from feeling alone if you don't change your mind, if you don't change your perspective. You have to learn to change your thought process. Your state of loneliness is a thought process that can be changed. You have the power to change that. I love you. Happy healing. Peace.